Hello and welcome to the Weekly Review, a program of Sawa Network. My name is Roger Alfred Yoron Modi. I'm the producer and the host of the show. And today we are joined by Irene Ayaa. She is the acting principal for Media Development Institute, the training wing of the Association for Media Development in South Sudan. She's also the chairperson of Female Journalist Network. Welcome to the Weekly Review, Irene Ayaa.
Thank you so much, Roger, for hosting me in this program.
To our audience, as you can remember, on Monday, that is November 2nd, the world celebrated International Day to End Impunity for crimes against journalists, and which is the day is it was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in 2014 in one of the resolutions that made November 2nd as the International Day to End Impunity for crimes against journalists. In that resolution, they urged member states to implement definite measures to counter the present culture of impunity on crimes against journalists in around the world. So, Irene Ayaa, you've been celebrating, you've been marking the day. You had occasions in Juba with other people in the media and journalists. Tell us how unique is this year's commemoration of the day?
The day went well as planned. It was attended by journalists themselves, and up to 40 persons were there. We had representatives from media houses, journalists themselves. We had government representation. We had civil society representation. And the event was marked with different activities, beginning from speeches from dignitaries, government and civil society, and also representatives from the media gave different speeches targeting on creating conducive environment for safety of journalists and other media workers. We also had a different presentation from media experts, academia, and judiciary, who gave presentation weeks, of course, all gearing at creating a conducive environment for journalists. Of course, I was the organizing committee for the event. We were, we kind of were convinced to organize the event because before this November 2nd cases, press cases of journalists arrested and detained. We also had other incidents where journalists were intimidated, where media gadgets were confiscated, some stories were deleted. So we thought, of course, those journalists who were arrested, they were later released without charges. So we find that as impunity, where people who violate media rights go without being punished or prosecuted. And we also feel that when a journalist is arrested, we need to know why they were arrested, what crime did they commit. We don't feel okay when a journalist is arrested and later released without charges. And even no follow-up is made, because even those journalists who were arrested, one of them who worked for Juba Monitor, the arrest even was not very good, because when he came back, his condition was really not very good. He was not beaten, but I think the psychological torture which he faced inside the detention where he was put did not go well with him. So he came back when he was not really in good condition, and he had to be given time to go home. And that alone has made this work not to happen, because he was supposed to continue working, but then due to his arrest and his condition from detention, he came back and he was given time to go back home and rest. We was really not very. These are the things that we don't really want, and that is why we had to organize for that event, to advocate for safety of journalists, to advocate for an end to impunity in the case of journalists.
And you see, when the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed November 2nd as the International Day to End Impunity for crimes against journalists, that was in 2014. And I remember one of the resolutions in one of the UN plan of action on the safety of journalists and the issue of impunity. They observed that a silenced journalist mutes the voices of the people and curbs their right to know, and that the result is a society where fearful citizens resort to self-censorship and where it is not possible to make informed decisions. So it's been years now. You see, war was ongoing in the country, then peace agreement came in, and now the country is moving through a lot of processes in the hope of getting lasting peace. There's also national dialogue and all this. How different is the situation comparing, all these years? You've been also there, seeing even there were instances whereby journalists lost their lives, and how different is the situation at the moment? Is there understanding through the continued engagement that the media have been having with those in power, the authorities in the country? How is the situation now compared to a few years ago?
Yes, we can admit that, of course, there's some kind of changes, some positive development. For example, when we used to organize media events like the one that recently just happened, if we were doing it in an hotel, we used to get permission from the national security to allow us organize an event, a media event. But now, at least with the engagement that we made several times with the authority, through the media authority, now we are allowed to only get a letter of no objection to organize a media event without going to get security clearance. Because when we used to get security clearance, sometimes they could look through the program and see who they want to address the event, who they don't want. Even the participants, they could see who they want and who they don't want. But for now, at least we get only a letter of no objection from media authority to allow us organize events, media events. That is, of course, one of the improvement that we have seen. In terms of journalists being arrested, of course, we expected by this time journalists should not be arrested either by security or by police. We expected all journalistic issues to be handled through the media authority, which, of course, it is not happening now, because when we still had these few journalists arrested recently by other authority apart from the media authority, we were not happy. That means that nothing really has changed much, although we can appreciate some of the few changes, but we still have a big way to go.
And also, your association, AMDISS, is involved in a lot of activities, training journalists and building their capacity. How is that going? Given that also training of journalists is very key in making sure that the media environment, the journalists themselves perform well.
Yes. We recently conducted a number of trainings for other stakeholders. Like recently, we have targeted the legal fraternity because of one incident of a journalist that we were not happy about. A journalist who is currently in prison for a defamation case. We felt that his case was not handled properly because, like I said before, every journalistic offenses has to first go through the media authority. In that case of that journalist who wrote an article about a corruption case involving the former Minister of Finance, we felt that his case did not go through a procedure that we expected it to go through the media authority, I mean. So recently we engaged, we first had a workshop with public prosecutors, the legal counsel from Ministry of Justice, to create awareness on the media laws, to kind of aware them on the existence of the media law and their responsibility to ensure the implementation of the media law. After that workshop with the legal counsel, we also had a workshop on the same with the judges, because the judges are always in the forefront to handle legal issues like giving judgment. So we also created awareness to them so that they also know that we have a media law which has to be given a reference to when they are handling media-related issues. And currently now we have a workshop for advocates. This one is exclusively female advocates. And we are also doing the same under the theme prevent, promote, and protect and prosecute. So we want to promote these media laws because media law is in the best interest of the public, not in the interest of the media, neither in the interest of an individual, but it is in the best interest of the public. We shall be happy if a case is handled well and a journalist is found guilty for committing any crimes within which is prohibited in the media law. But we don't want an instances where a journalist is arrested even without taking his his voice, is just detained somewhere even without a statement, and later is released. And this is why we really want to create awareness about the media laws, so that things are done according to the law, so that even we develop the professionality of the media, because we cannot say that journalists, all of them are now professional and they are doing their work in a very professional way. We also need to fix things here and there. We need to train them. And for that reason, we need to find out where their problems are, rather than just arresting them, jailing them, and later they are released without charges.
And what are the responses from both sides after the training and the awareness that you create? Is there understanding?
Yes, I mean, many of them were really admitting that they have not even seen the media laws before, even including the judges, because even we realized that when they themselves were asking for the copies of the media laws. So we should not always assume that everybody is aware about the existing laws. Some of them even not aware. So they were really very happy, although they said, of course, their work is to interpret the law and do their judgment in the best interest of the law. So we are also happy about that. We are happy that we gave them the knowledge that they needed.
Well, we are close to the end of the program. what would be a message to the government, the journalists out there, and the public in this effort to professionalize journalism, and also push forward for accountability for crimes against journalists and those who do not want to operate within the law generally?
Yes, I would start with journalists, and I would say to them that they should also know that they have a big stake on their own safety. They have to also work upon their professionality. They have to be always accurate, because even when we were having the judges workshop, they were complaining, just like any other South Sudanese who have been complaining about lack of professionalities among journalists, our journalists. And that I would like to really urge journalists to always verify their information, to always be objective, to not take side. It will be very easy for us to follow a case of a journalist who did his or her work within the ethics, because it would be very easy for us. But any journalist who would do work outside the ethics of journalism, it will be very hard for us to defend just a journalist. So that is my message to the journalists. And to the government and other stakeholders, please, we really need the media, and we need the journalists, because they are the voice of the people. They are actually, we cannot do without the media. Let us protect them, and they are just the messenger. They are not actually, we should not run after them, because they are just reporting what the sources told them to report. So, and we need to, because these are our journalists. As a country, we cannot do without the media. We need our own media. There is a time when we are the one who are going to run after these journalists. But at some time, we don't need them, because we think they are defaming us, they are exposing what we are doing, corruption and all that. But is time we really need these journalists. So let us protect them. Let us be proud. If it is the issue of development of professional, work of journalists, it is our own responsibility as a country, as government of South Sudan. We really need to develop the professional skill of these journalists, because we really need them.
Okay, that is Mary Ajeth, the chairperson of the Association for Media Development in South Sudan, AMDISS, trying to join us on the show via Zoom from Juba, but there has been a technical error. She was supposed to be here from the very beginning on the show, but we apologize for the technical problem. Next time we shall be able to include her and others on the program. And with that, let me say Irene Ayaa, the acting principal for Media Development Institute, the training wing of AMDISS, and the chairperson for Female Journalist Network. Thank you very much for being on this program, the Weekly Review. Dear listener, we have come to the end of the program, and let me conclude by this quote from Audrey Ousley, the Director General of UNESCO, issued on this occasion of the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists. Quote, "Journalists are essential in preserving the fundamental right to freedom of expression guaranteed by Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. When journalists are attacked with impunity, there is a breakdown in security and judicial systems for all." Unquote. With that, bye for now, until next week.